Alrighty, we are live. Before I start this video, I want to give a huge thank you to everyone that subscribed. I find it unbelievable that I'm at 200 subscribers right now. It really makes me happy and keeps me motivated to keep on going. So if you're listening and you haven't subscribed, please hit that button so that you can stay up to date on all new videos that will be coming out, because I really do love doing this. I think about it all the time, new ideas that I can come up with to just give the information out to the people. I think it's a really beautiful thing to do to help humanity. It's like my little part that I can do, tend to the garden that you can touch. And all of you would be like daffodils that have flown into my garden, taking root and making it a beautiful ecosystem of open-mindedness and awareness. So once again, thank you. Let's begin. Hello friends. I hope my words find you at a period of tranquil introspection. I'm excited to share this thought-provoking presentation with you. It's a theory I've held for a few years and have only now been captivated by the mystic valley of mystery and intrigue surrounding it. That being the true meaning behind the tale of the Tower of Babel. I'm aware most are privy to this ancient story, but please let me broaden your awareness by sharing a deeper perspective. A perspective cultivated by my journey into the mysterious remnants left behind by a sophisticated human race from deep antiquity. Before I start, please consider subscribing to my channel. I make these videos for you, and it's a work of passion. If you enjoyed it, let me know in the comments. I'd appreciate your thoughts after listening. Let's begin. The Tower of Babel, a great builder civilization who spoke in one tongue. The story surrounds a civilization that was building a tower to the heavens, a tower so mighty and awe-inspiring that God himself negatively intervened out of fear. But wait, God was worried of man? This is the same God that created the universe, no? Why would human ingenuity worry God? This aspect always puzzled me. Here's the passage. Genesis 11, 1-9. They said to each other, "Come, let's make bricks and bake them thoroughly." They used brick instead of stone and tar for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth." But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower the people were building. The Lord said, "If as one people speaking the same language they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language, so they will not understand each other." So the Lord scattered them from there over all the earth, and they stopped building the city. Regardless of how strange God and whoever else decided to come down and destroy his creation's creation. Let's dissect this verse a bit. The first thing that pings my ancient civilization sonar is the line, "Let's make bricks and bake them thoroughly." Now, when observing ancient megalithic structures, we see granite blocks ranging from 10 to over 100 tons, blocks that appear to have been melted together. This elegant building method is only found at sites reaching deep antiquity, buried beneath crude attempted recreations of softer stone and rock not exceeding 5 tons that have been haphazardly stacked. Next, they used brick instead of stone and tar for mortar. It's important to note this is a translated verse from an ancient language, using different words for the same thing. It is my honest belief that this story is far older than the Hebrew Bible, which was most likely found and copied from ancient cuneiform tablets. Tablets that have not been unearthed, translated, or that have been hidden, similar to the Dead Sea Scrolls, which when discovered threw a monkey wrench into the Christian dogma. So far, over 10,000 ancient clay tablets have been found, tablets that have endured the crushing beast that is time. How many more are waiting to be unearthed, longing to shed light on our ancient history? That said, this portion expresses the utilization of a different, more durable building material than what normally is used, regardless of what our present interpretation is. Then the builders knew they had to make a name for themselves, otherwise in time all will be forgotten, as has happened numerous times. We don't know the true builders of the megalithic sites. However, it's evident that the cultures which took root later in their places mimicked the ancient culture before them. This next bit is very interesting to me, saying, "Let us," implying a group of beings on a higher level than humanity, parallel to God himself. Why would God be accompanied by others, expressed in the same manner of him showing off his retaliation? I think this humanization of God is very disconnecting from God, starting with the assumption that God is male. I think what we're reading is an interpretation of ancient man coming into contact with a highly advanced species and or unfathomable celestial events. Subsequently, God decides to stop their building, scattering them around the world with quote-unquote different languages. Interestingly, what do we see all around the world? Unfinished megalithic structures with clear signs of building suddenly being halted. 14,000-ton obelisks left in granite quarries detached from the bedrock, and 70-ton granite boxes seated in deep cavern halls just out of reach from its cove. Why are these left untouched for thousands of years? No attempt to finish what was started, like man was building something amazing and great, then abruptly stopped, tools down so to speak, with the most megalithic, hardest, and precise stone laying as the foundation, begging later humans to pick up the torch. But the torch held by those who came after burned like a candle in light of the sun. Did the later humans forget to manipulate the earth in the span of a few hundred years, as Orthodox propagates? Or is what's observed around the world the remnants speaking to us from tens of thousands of years ago, forgotten and buried after multiple cataclysms? This brings to mind a powerful writing, Ozymandias. I met a traveler from an ancient land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk, a shattered vestige lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed, and on the pedestal these words appear, my name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains round the decay of the colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away." Damn, that's so good. The trope of great destruction descending upon the earth is found throughout numerous ancient texts. I believe these are written memories of a multitude of destructive celestial events that I feel have been passed down as ancient bedtime stories or stories shared around the campfire. This style of communication was used almost daily during the early hominid years. Stories that when writing was established would have been written down in whatever manner was prevalent at that time. Who knows how far from the original these stories have strayed. That being said, we still have the megalithic structures as a visual representation showing pieces of what transpired back then. If I ever had the chance to go back in time or contact some aliens with the knowledge, this is the first thing I would want to know. How old and how were these megalithic ancient granite structures built? I digress. The current 10,000 years has been relatively tame in contrast to the cataclysmic impacts of the past. Like the Tower of Babel, a destruction of the world can be found in numerous biblical stories, which begs the question, how many times has the earth experienced such events, leaving humans to rebuild? Are these the tales of a single event, or multiple events of great turmoil passed down becoming a myth? As the veil of our understanding to ancient humans disintegrates, evidence of multiple world-altering cataclysms comes to light, brought on by deluge and fire. Here are some more examples of cataclysms. Matthew chapter 4, verse 29. Soon after the trouble of those days, the sun will grow dark, the moon will no longer shine, the stars will fall from heaven, and the powers in space will be driven from their courses. Does this not sound like the aftermath of a volcanic eruption or astral impact? The stars will fall from heaven, the sun will grow dark. What is being described is an interpretation of an impact or eruption sending debris into the atmosphere, blacking out the sky. Revelations chapter 8, verse 5. Then the angel took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and hurled it on the earth. And there came peals of thunder, rumblings, flashes of lightning, and an earthquake. The 7 angels who were holding the 7 trumpets prepared to blow them. When the first one blew his trumpet, there came hail and fire, mixed with blood, which was hurled down to the earth. A third of the land was burnt up, along with a third of the trees and all green grass. Again, this is all sounding like a catastrophic event brought on by an impact or eruption, or in evangelical terms, hurling fire towards the earth. Imagine you're a human unaware of the intricacies of space, seeing asteroids falling from the sky. You would see it as supernatural, as in the gods are angry. But nowadays, we have a greater understanding and should be putting the pieces together, coming to the conclusion of a real cataclysm, rather than upholding this notion of divine intervention. A third of the earth was burnt up. This statement, seemingly that of fiction, now we know a third of the earth has been burnt, sending humans through a bottleneck and killing off all the megafauna. The mammoths, the mastodons, giant ground sloths, saber-toothed tigers, American camels, American horses, giant beavers, and direwolves. These species are some of the few erased from the earth, leaving evidence of their thriving existence. But what could kill off all these species? Mainstream orthodox will say with conviction, early hominids hunted them to extinction, using only sticks and stones, who then piled their broken and shattered bones in burials numbering in the millions. I find it very hard to believe this is the case. The human population at that time was orders of magnitude less than the hundreds of millions of megafauna roaming the early Pleistocene Earth. And then we have the black mat layer. This layer is associated with the end of the Pleistocene era, around 12,800 to 11,600 years ago. It has been identified at numerous sites across North America and at some locations in other parts of the world, where the earth and all organic material was burnt to a crisp, littered with nanodiamonds, microspheroids, and soot, which is indicative of an extraterrestrial impact. These two pieces of evidence give credence to their tales of fire falling from the sky followed by a great deluge. These are real events that took place while our human family was constructing megalithic structures. We're talking about a world-changing event, after which life on Earth would have been vastly different. Revelations 18:21. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone, and cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall the great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. Again, we literally have a giant rock falling from the heavens to the earth. It's so very obvious what these people were trying to convey from deep antiquity. Every religion has its parallels to these types of events, and one must ask themselves why and how. A study was done in the realm of nuclear semiotics, which is a study to devise methods of creating long-lasting warning messages or markers that can remain intelligible and effective over millennia, despite potential changes in language, culture, and technology. This challenge arises from the fact that nuclear waste remains hazardous for thousands of years, far beyond the timescale of human civilizations and languages. They've determined the best way to propagate information over a long period of time, i.e. 10,000 years plus, is through stories and myths. Symbols will be misinterpreted, along with technical information. But if one were to come up with a myth told during the tribal gatherings or as bedtime stories encoded with important information and warnings, that knowledge can then become immortalized, traveling from one generation to the next. I don't know the age of the ghost stories my grandparents would tell me when I was a kid, but best believe they are in my lexicon of information and ready to be shared if ever the opportunity were to arise. Thank you, Nana, and thank you, Papa, for those amazing stories. Some of the best times of my life. One of the most fascinating stories of the ancients is from the Book of the Hopi tribe, who believe in a cyclical concept of time and existence, that life progresses through a series of worlds and epochs. According to their tradition, the current world is the fourth world, with the previous three having been destroyed due to the corruption and moral failings of their inhabitants. Almost sounds like the tale of Atlantis and others, right? So the people went down to live with the ant people. When they were all safe and settled, Teowa commanded Soyakun to destroy the world. Soyakun destroyed it by fire because the Fire Clan had been its leaders. He rained fire upon it. He opened up the volcanoes. Fire came from above and below and all around until the earth, the waters, the air, all was one element, fire. And then there was nothing left except the people safe inside the womb of the earth. This was the end of Tokbela, the first world. Now, what's interesting about this story is that there have been fires that have happened in the early 1900s. There are stories about it and whatnot. It's like the firestorm. I highly suggest people go look up Randall Carlson, the Randall Carlson podcast. He talks about these fires, and it's unbelievably massive. And so what he feels happened is actually gas deposits from comets that were passing. So gas accumulates into the atmosphere, which people who survived these fires said that they smelt it for weeks before the fire actually ignited. So you have this object passing the earth, this huge plume of smoke following it, and it comes into the atmosphere. Then later on, we have a meteor or something that comes down and ignites it. Now, the people who have survived these, they say that the fire came out of nowhere. It seemed to just span and consume everything. And at some points, it would leave random things with nothing untouched that are a foot away from something that was on fire. They said that there were balls of fire floating across the water. It's unbelievable what happened back then. This is like the 1900s, like the Chicago fire. And another one in the Northwest. It's amazing. And I should do a video on that as well, because I think people should know that this is a possibility. And that event takes, what is being described in a lot of these ancient stories like Sodom and Gomorrah, or whatever that place was where people turned into salt pillars, It gives it a little more credence, like fire literally raining from the sky and just igniting everything, It's crazy, honestly, but real. Crazy, but real. That's our reality, So, we see time and time again Earth being destroyed and a small amount of humans surviving. I believe what we are seeing is the rewriting of old ancient tales. Many of the biblical tales are rewritten text from ancient cuneiform tablets, some of which include the Untapishtim in the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is the basis for the story of Noah. And then we have the basket ride in the story of Moses being rescued, which is first found in the story of Sargon, the founder of Akkad. There are many more of these overlays riddled with glaring parallels, including Jesus' attributes, which are found in many ancient deities like India's Krishna to the Buddha in Tibet. And just as it rained for 40 days and 40 nights in the Bible, all the way across the Great Pond in South America, a man of medium height, white and dressed in a white robe, a man that carried a staff and a book in his hands, a being by the name of Viracocha, during the time of darkness to bring forth light. He made the sun, moon, and the stars. He made mankind by breathing into stones, similar to the Bible's man from clay. But his first creation were brainless giants that displeased him. Sounds like the Nephilim, right? So he destroyed them with a flood and made human beings who were better than the giants from smaller stones. After creating them, they were scattered all over the world. Viracocha eventually disappeared across the Pacific Ocean by walking on water, which is what Jesus was depicted doing, and never returned. He wandered the earth disguised as a beggar, teaching his new creations the basics of civilization, as well as working numerous miracles. Many refused to follow his teachings, devolving into warfare and delinquency. Viracocha wept when he saw the plight of the creatures he had created. He destroyed the people around Lake Titicaca with a great flood, called Una Pachacuti, Una Patachuchi, Una Pachacute. I'm not trying to be rude or anything, but Una Pachacuti, lasting 60 days and 60 nights, saving two to bring civilization to the rest of the world. Sounds familiar, right? This is almost the exact story of the tale of Noah from the canon, or from the original text, the Epic of Gilgamesh, a tale with roots older than Sumerian stories. We don't really know how old these tales are. Nonetheless, we see similar stories all over the world. So, why am I bringing this up? Well, the idea of languages being separated never made sense to me. To think of a shared language spoken all over the world, to me, feels like a metaphor to something far more profound. The orthodox assumption was something I always questioned and wondered just what was this language and how did it sound, until I became aware of the similarities shared and encoded around the world at megalithic sites. Concepts of highly advanced mathematics, geology, geometry, and astrology. With this multitude of shared knowledge, mathematics, geometry, geology, astrology, and astronomy, and even the understanding of acoustics, is this not a language? A language shared among a sophisticated human family that subsequently was forgotten by most, with little passed down from those with the memory. This is my theory on the Tower of Babel. It was a time when humanity had the ability to understand the celestial movements. They had a deep connection to the universe, both tactile and the esoteric nature of sacred geometry, which can be extrapolated as the great design in everything, big or small, in all things in between. I believe they understood geology and the magnetic field to a great level of proficiency, with megalithic structures all atop natural springs and at key energetic points in the Earth's magnetic field, or ley lines. Well, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this video. This will be the first of a two-part presentation. In the next video, I'll discuss the actual similarities, being their building techniques, the shared usage of stones that are comprised of about 60% crystal. I'll discuss the properties of these stones and why they might have used them. I'll show their use of sacred geometry, the shared shapes and angles used in their designs. I'll be showing their understanding of astronomy, how they mapped the stars and designed their structures to bring the heavens to the earth, as above, so below. Also, their heightened awareness of geology. My only hope is to share this with other like-minded individuals that can hear this information with ears not jaded by oppressive dogmas. We are in the time of awakening, and this is the revolution, an event that will not be televised on the mainstream outlets. And before I ascend from this incarnation to the next, I plan on leaving bits of knowledge for others who are seeking the truth. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Doing the research on this was very eye-opening for me. May it serve you in a similar manner. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more thought-provoking concepts. Concepts that have the capacity to rip you out of this brain-dead artificial consumer zeitgeist and thrust you into a reality of wonder, beauty, and hope. I'll leave you with some quotes from the Rig Veda, one of the oldest texts in the world. Let noble thoughts come to us from every side. And from Rumni, a 13th century Persian poet. Yesterday, I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today, I am wise, so I am changing myself. Both quotes, though from vastly different culture and historical context, emphasize the significance of ancient wisdom in guiding contemporary life. They remind us that knowledge, both external and internal, is a treasure trove passed down through generations, offering insights into the essence of being and the intricacies of the world around us. This is From Thought. Much love. Peace out.